How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video. In this video we will be talking about RuneScape's player count and the current situation that it is in, and something that is a little bit concerning but also overall is an all-round sort of positive thing, and we shall have to see what happens in the future. But I like making these sort of videos on the topics about this sort of thing, so I'm interested in seeing what you guys think in the comments. Let me know and we'll just discuss about it. But either way, if you do enjoy the video, leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Now let's talk about RuneScape's current player count. Through December of 2021, RuneScape 3 climbed its way up in online active players all the way to its highest peak that it's had since April of 2020. Over the last few days in RuneScape 3, we have had an average of around about 48,000 average online players, reaching a peak of around about 57,000 players online at one point. I'm taking this data and the player counts from a website called misplaceditems.com, and the way this works is every 5 minutes, a script contacts the front page of RuneScape and takes the displayed number of online players. RuneScape displays the online players as a total number of both versions of the game, but then this will then also take the number of the old school RuneScape players and find the difference between that, finding us the RuneScape 3 players. So the numbers used here are originally from the Jagex website. However, I did want you guys to know which source I was using to find these numbers. I will link this website in the description below if you want to check over this graph afterwards, but I will also be showing the graph on screen for you guys to watch as well. Now, of course, for anyone who has been playing RuneScape in the recent month, you will know that there has been a lot of events such as the gold party hat, the green Santa hat, and of course the treasure hunter event as well. Now, this number will be inflated slightly, seeing as a lot of people are making a hell of a lot of alt accounts in the game as well to take advantage of the golden party hat, and they were taking advantage of the treasure hunter event and also, of course, getting as much paper as possible to hand in for a green Santa hat. So while this number will be inflated slightly, it shouldn't show a huge misrepresentation, considering this shows current online players, so it would be accounts that are logged in. So any alternate accounts that have been made and aren't currently logged in at the time would not be included in this number. The last time that we hit numbers of this amount, as mentioned before, was in April of 2020. This was when COVID was probably at its peak and a hell of a lot of people were in lockdown, but also Jagex made the decision to make RuneScape Mobile available to free-to-play players. This brought a lot of new people to the game testing it out, whether it was current players, players returning to the game due to lockdown and nothing else to do. The player count was at an all-time high. It was averaging around about 50,000 players for over a few weeks. However, this number did of course gradually drop off, as you would expect, of course. For the last year during 2021, the game has been averaging around about 30 to 35,000 players following along the graph. There's been peaks and there's been drops, of course, but the average player count usually sits between those numbers. So while we are hitting a peak in the game at this moment in time, it does come with a few issues. One of those issues being the servers struggle to hold this many players. The game is always in a good position when it is pulling in more players. When we see more players on our game, it is an all-round good. It is good for the game to have more players active, and of course it should be good for the current players to see that many more players coming to their game. To see people joining your game kind of shows that something is going right, something is going well, and people are enjoying to play. However, it is always met with the same difficulties every single time we hit a peak. Whenever the player counts reach this high of a number, we always get the same issues of server delay across almost every single world for most players. Current players who are trying to do things like PVM or trying to do anything in game that requires a decent sort of response time start getting issues with that, seeing as any server that tends to have more than 300 players on it often provide that player with a server delay. What I mean by delay is, for example, if you click to move your character, there's going to be a slight time between you clicking and then waiting for your character to move, and of course this can cause issues for certain communities of the game. Probably the main community that this affects is going to be the PVM community, because of course you need good response times, and once you are used to certain timings and stuff during PVM, if that suddenly changes, you've got problems, you've got issues, and you need to readjust to it, and it can cause a lot of issues. It can cause frustration, and it's just not a good time. That being said, it does affect other people as well, just because of the overall feel of the game does feel laggy and a bit delayed. Overall, this sort of just doesn't feel like a good experience to actually play the game, and it can put quite a lot of people off, as the game just feels clunky and slow and unresponsive. It also affects new players, as if you put yourself in the shoes of a brand new player trying out RuneScape 3, you're going to join, you're going to think, it looks okay for a game that is really old. They've done a good job updating the graphics, and there seems to be some decent sort of content ahead of me from what I've seen on YouTube and that sort of stuff. And then you get in the game and you are immediately met by a clunky, unresponsive, laggy, delayed mess. It is super off-putting, and so many new players who would want to try the game out will end up quitting the game because they just don't feel like this game is very well supported. I know for a fact if I tried out a new game that has been around for quite a while, not a brand new game straight release, because you're going to expect issues on a brand new release, of course, but if I tried a game that has been out for a while, I joined and it was just really delayed and really laggy, and every time I clicked I could literally see the difference in timing between my character moving and me actually sending the action, and then getting dead clicks where I do tell it the game to do something and then it just doesn't respond whatsoever and you have to press it again. These sort of things are pretty big to a new player because they will put you off straight away. You'll think, this game feels a little bit cheap, a little bit like not finished, unpolished, and RuneScape is in a position where it's probably more polished than a lot of other games that are around. So this definitely does cause issues for both sides of the coin. You have the people at the end game, people who are high level or people who have been playing for a while, getting the issues of the delay and stuff and having to deal with it during PvM, or just having an overall bad feel to the game that they're not really used to. And then you have the brand new players joining and just thinking, yeah, this doesn't feel right. There's something a bit off about this. It's putting me off a little bit. I don't think this game's for me. Even though there's a great game ahead of them, it can definitely put them off. So this, of course, has been an issue that has been around in RuneScape for a long while, and it does seem like something that just cannot be fixed. I have made a video talking about this sort of thing in the past as well, and I heard a very different amount of opinions on how this could be fixed, or whether it could or could not be fixed in general. A lot of people said this couldn't be done unless you reworked the entire engine or the entire system because of the way that the actual game is coded and the way it's written. That even just throwing money at the servers and upgrading them just wouldn't make a difference, which does seem like something that is a little bit of a shame. However, people then also said that they could do things like add in extra worlds. For example, old school RuneScape, when they released RuneScape Mobile for old school, they did expect a massive surge in players, which they did get. They added in loads of extra worlds for players to actually play on and spread out across, causing the worlds to not be as sort of congested and full and laggy. And then once that player count started to dwindle down a little bit, they started removing those extra servers that they didn't need anymore. They didn't remove them all at once, they just removed the odd one here and there until eventually they didn't need any of the other ones that they may have added. I don't know whether there's any left around still or not, or whether they have removed all of them or not. That is obviously something that I would not know about, but I do know that they added extra worlds and they did remove them over time. So then we get the question of, does RuneScape 3 need more worlds? Well, it kind of goes both ways, right? You get all these new players coming to your game. You would like to be able to see those players running around your world. If you had less worlds with more players and you could actually support those players and not cause any issues on the servers, then that would be a such better feel for the game. Seeing so many more players, so many newer players and lower level gear and stuff running around and all doing these different things, it would make the world feel more alive and it would do great things for the game. However, if this isn't possible, then maybe the better option is to just move away from that and spread out extra worlds and get these people down to around about 300 players per world or just below, which seems to be the sweet spot when you are looking for a world without any delay. If I'm looking to PvM and I know that I'm going to log on and do PvM, I will check which world I can get onto in my area that is not going to have more than 300 players. If there is every single world taken, like I think last night or the night before, I couldn't find a single world that had less than 300 players on it, then I will just have to filter it and go for the absolute best one and see what happens. A lot of things affect the actual lag and what's causing the world to be delayed, which is outside of purely just player count. However, the player count is probably the fastest way for a player to actually look at that and decide this world's probably going to be better than the other one, as certain things in games, such as having everyone grouped together in a certain area with the hundreds of players all in the same area, can cause server delay as well. Every time that people have more action bars, every time there's more presets, every time there is more things in the game for that server to load, there is more delay on that world. For example, Jagex mods have confirmed that we cannot have more action bars on our screen as of yet, due to the fact that it would probably cause a lot of lag or delay issues, which of course is probably going to be outweighing the pros of having just one extra action bar. So I guess the idea of this video wasn't necessarily to say we need to be doing this or anything like that. It was just to sort of bring the attention to you guys of, at this moment in time, RuneScape 3 is reaching average player counts of around about 45 to 50,000 players. And while, like I said throughout this video, that is a great overall thing for the game, and I am absolutely loving seeing more people enjoying this game that I love and create content on, it has its downsides too. And I wonder if there's ever going to be a point in time where Jagex can fix this issue and allow this game to actually grow to the peak that it can. Because is this holding RuneScape back? Is it going to keep holding RuneScape back? Every time we hit these peaks, are we going to lose players that would otherwise have stayed? Or maybe they will just change over to old school RuneScape because they seem to have a better hold of servers over there due to the lack of EOC and all the different updates and UI stuff and everything in game that is causing the servers to lag. Will RuneScape 3 forever be sitting at a cap of around about 50,000 players because it can't support that many players without causing these sort of issues for players to deal with? And unless Jagex does fix this, are we never going to see RuneScape 3 grow to the point that it possibly could do? As moving into the future, RuneScape 3 absolutely could get itself in a position, especially with the mobile app and the right advertising and the right sort of promotion and stuff, it could grow itself a hell of a lot bigger than it is. But looking through the recorded past average player counts, it is a little bit concerning to see that every time we hit a peak, it seems to be around the exact same number of where we are now, between 40 to 50,000 average players, and then it starts to drop off. Are we forever going to be hitting this cap and never going past it? Personally, of course, I hope that we fly past that and get way ahead of that and catch up even to old school RuneScape numbers. RuneScape is a great game, and I believe both of them can work hand in hand together to having one of the biggest online player bases for MMORPGs. And of course, as a content creator, the more people playing the game, the more viewers, so I would only want good for the game. But we're going to take an unusual ending to one of my videos today, and we're going to leave it on a question for you guys, and answer this in the comments. After what's been talked about in this video, and after looking at the average player count graphs over the last years, do you personally think that RuneScape will or won't ever get past the average player count of about 50,000 players?